And a perfect opportunity as well to jump into the action with this pistol. We start us off Overpass. Remember, this was a 16-4 just yesterday against Saw. Let's see if Winstrike especially can repeat that performance, Pronogo.
Yeah, it's all eyes on them, really. They need to continue their win streak, get it up to 12, which would be a formidable number. Right now, looks like a bit of a slower pistol. They have not yet decided what they want to contest with against Forze's CT side. It's going to be minimal utility with Almazer having the only kit. Everybody else has Kevlar for the defenders. Winstrike now aggressing towards long here with one of their P250s. The only P250, in fact, the only upgraded pistol on the server right now. Limited utility, looks like it's going to be an A finish. Only a couple of members from Forze here to receive.
We see this so frequently for Elian, however, he gets taken down to 8 HP off the back of that USPS Zorte holding behind the bank. Just inside that car position, a very formidable position on the A-bomb site. In fact, as the drops creep closer, Forrester and Crad both convert onto the kills. The A site has been taken, and maybe starting off, especially to script, Pronogo. We did anticipate Winstrike would be powerful on Overpass. That's exactly the way it started, with just Flit and Jerry looking to break through with a pair of USPSs, one inside the bank. Flit just poking out inside of the garbage. Try and challenge Lackey. That's not going to happen. They've spotted both players. Jerry now needs to really fall back. Maybe even save this body armor.
Yeah, I actually expected both surviving players from Forza to save their body armor. It might not even happen for Jerry. He's going to have to frag himself out of here if he wants to scarper off with that Kevlar, and it's just not good enough. Lackey with 2 there to end us out. And that's the pistol for Winstrike. Certainly something that we were expecting is the Winstrike side dominating this early matchup. And with Forza's CT side being somewhat of a liability, as touched on just earlier, it looks like things have started off a little poorly for them. They will be forcing into this one, and they're going to have to make something magical happen with the Scout and the Deagle purchase. Let's talk about that so often, Squid, how powerful it actually is, where one shot from either weapon and you're down. 2 MAC-10s to answer back, and Elian's already opened things up for Winstrike's side. That'll take the Scout out. Zorte on the ground again, so early.
Certainly the case. These vintage Forza players, remember their previous 5-man roster, their success mainly predicated off of those big CT sides, Inferno being a big sticking point for Winstrike. It won't be played in this series, of course. That was the first ban.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you really wanted to see more out of Forza, and the fact that they haven't been able to convert off of this new lineup as often. Well, Overpass is a bit of a more complicated map, and it's certainly not their home territory, so not so much data points that you can take away from this matchup, unless they can mount a very surprising comeback, because I expect Winstrike to not only convert off of this round, but all of the subsequent ones as well. Should be seeing a very, very strong start for that roster as they start to aggress with the bomb towards Monster. Not too many members here on the A site for Forza. Instead, it's going to be a stack to B, so Winstrike might run into this, and that could be their downfall.
Winstrike don't have any of the information towards the toilets, towards the A-bomb site in its entirety, so they will walk into the stack of 4 Desert Eagles holding the crossfires. Kenzie opens up, and right above the sandbags, Crad might have just been given enough information to bail Winstrike away, but those kills are going to bait them into Flit and Kenzie. They're holding the angles, the Desert Eagles firing through, and Kenzie looking to find 2. That's not going to happen just yet. The Deagle disagrees. Nickelback just 1 HP, and Elian is 1 tap as well, down to 30. 15 seconds to get the bomb down. Really circumnavigates the opportunity to rotate, leaving just Flit sat within the smoke. We know how much he loves to clutch, and if he can deny this bomb, there's no opportunity to get the job done. Nickelback misses the shots, and it's 1-1 Forza.
That was Winstrike smoke that blocked Nickelback's vision onto Flit in that scenario. That allows him to live when he's in that elevated position behind the site itself. So beautiful that he's able to use that leverage against Winstrike. And now they've answered back. The economy in tatters. What can Winstrike do with a force buy of their own? Because it's just mirroring what Forza brought into that last round. You have to expect that they would fall back, in fact, after seeing so many members. Crad jumping over the sandbags. He can radio in that intel, but Winstrike, they decided they wanted to test Forza's metal. They came away worse for wear, black and blue.
And tested they are. Winstrike, we thought maybe this pocket pick would be an absolutely dominant performance. That hasn't been the case in the first 2. Just Deagles to try and bail them out of trouble going into round number 3 against Forza.
Oh, man. They need to do so much with this purchase. They need to get some damage done. They need to stop the Forza economy from just getting out of control. Forrester, only good for some information and a dainty little tag. bait out some nades. Another thing that the Winstrike team can do, remember, since they don't have any nades of their own, they're mostly relying on some stray shots to sell presence. Can't do that too often, or Forza will start to go hunting. Not the case right now. Very passive setup, in fact, with 2 members towards long for the CTs.
Winstrike will certainly want an early night after playing a pretty lengthy best of 3. Only going to 2 maps, but both over 29 rounds, one in overtime. Obviously, they'll be wanting to dispatch with Forza with ease.
Yeah, it's all the rounds, right? Zorte now sounding off. This should be an easy mop-up for the rifles, but Eagles overwhelm already.
And Zortic actually can't challenge this angle from long to disallow the bomb from going down. So Forrester taps that in. Another MP9 to try and hold away the angle as Jerry comes in from the toilets with one of his own. Quick headshot. Still hasn't sniffed out the positional advantage of Elian within the toilets, but he's only got a scout to play with Pronogo, and I don't imagine he'll be able to get anything done here. Bomb defused. Nice round, Forza.
Yeah, that was only messy insofar as it took him a while to clean Winstrike up. It looked a little scarier, especially with Almazer going down so low. But when your last remaining member on the Force Spy on the T side only has a scout, there's really not much you can do in that situation. Winstrike do really well to get a bomb plant down, though. That's the main takeaway from that previous round, and it won't afford them a proper buy into this, but it'll just make it so that if they want to get that AWP out in the first proper gun round in the next, they will be able to. Right now, Forza should be on track to very comfortably pop out with a 3-round early start. Obviously, a 2-round advantage over their opponents as they break out the sniper onto Zorte. See where he positions himself. Looks like the traditional spot to play if you're a primary sniper.
Against Saw yesterday, Winstrike closed out both Overpass pistols. It was that 8-0 combined start on both sides of the map, respectively, that we were talking about. Inside the connector, tries to take the first rifle down. Flip will fall, giving away an AK-47. Definitely a dangerous angle to play with that particular rifle. Gives Winstrike a glimmer of hope into B.
Oh, man, and Winstrike have nades, remember, so they can actually execute off of this. Still 2 members to receive on B, but Forza might be losing an early round, especially with that recovered AK-47 on Lackey, who's just been playing out of his mind the past couple series.
Yeah, he's been putting it to good work. 2 quick kills. Really circumnavigates Forza back to B, where Kenzie, Almazer have to play upon the barrels, both in conjunction with one another, leaving only Zorti on A. The new boy being challenged here with the sniper.
With only an AWP, remember, as well, and he's got a flash, a smoke, and an HE to contend with. So Winstrike, if they play this right, they might be able to overwhelm him before he even knows what hits him.
He gets early information onto long as well. As soon as Winstrike peek this corner beside the flowers, there's every opportunity they spot him. Crad, that is sensational. The Tech 9 not usually utilized at that range, but blast him out of the server, and Almazer certainly has a task on his hands beside the trash can. The M4 can't chip through. He's dealt a damaging blow, and Winstrike might have brought this one right back. A boost to try and circumnavigate this, and I cannot see it happening for Kenzie.
No, there's no amount of information that's going to save you in this retake attempt. At this point, Forza, they absolutely have got to bail. 1 HP low. Oh, man, and Crad just makes it all happen. A little bit of a team damage with that nade, but does it even matter realistically? Winstrike just absolutely overwhelming that position. Just a nutty shot from Crad to open things up.
Yeah, that team kill is certainly something you have to shrug off at that point. 2-2. Winstrike are certainly going to be happy with that one.
How do you just get 2 bullets off with that Tech 9? Both of them headshots at that distance to drop the Opper. Unbelievable scenes in only the 4th round of Overpass for Winstrike to tie us up. And yeah, I mean, I'd be calling attack too if I were Forza after that kind of stuff happens. And not something you're ever going to expect. They will rebuy into this, however. It's just a matter of what Kenzie brings to the table because it is going to be a very compromised buy since they did lose so many members. In fact, all of them in that previous round. So remember that going into round 5. It's not going to be pretty for Forza, but they might be able to make it happen.
This might be mostly for Zorte's mindset. He was the player to get blasted out of the server with that Tech 9, and now he's got one of the 2 rifles that Forza have to offer. A third coming out in the form of the Fama song to Kenzie, but still that primary investment for Zorte once again.
He's got to make magic work with that particular rifle. Elian might be able to contest with him as well because he's brought a sniper into the mix. Not yet positioned super aggressively, actually towards the T entrance into party. That's where Zorte is as well. He's actually towards long, holding a more passive angle perhaps. Hoping to rely on Winstrike's aggressive tendencies, maybe make those work against them. Lackey drops off the boost, a 6th sense for Almazer to get that frag, and that's a much-needed opener for this wounded CT economy.
Talking of aggressive tendencies, look at the line Forza have driven the defense to. Elian spots him right above the fountain, and Kenzie definitely didn't anticipate he was getting his face blown off at that particular angle. Perhaps to an AK-47. We saw Elian do so much heavy lifting on Vertigo just a couple of moments ago.
This isn't the most tactical CS here, Squid, but these rounds are delivering in terms of the frags. Lots of highlight plays coming out from pretty much everybody on the server so far, and we might get treated to another one as Almazer stares down 2.
Yeah, also low, very isolated. The B site has fallen.
No bomb, though. They haven't picked it up just yet on the side of Winstrike. That's going to be Elian's duty as he peers off the angle. He's actually expecting even more aggression. Now doubling back. We'll see where he goes, maybe throwing another utility set. It's going to be a slow approach. Flit does well to find that particular frag, recover a rifle. Now we can maybe see a Forza save on the cards. Remember, Jerry is the only one to recover the AWP, and he's got no armor, so a retake, unlikely with only one flashbang on the CT side.
Yeah, maybe throwing in the utility set isn't even needed. The only thing Forza will be throwing in is the towel here in round 5. Try and keep hold of that AWP for Zorte going into the next. He's not had much impact in the first 5. Let's hope he can step up.
Right, yeah. Kenzie and Zorte both not firing on all cylinders just yet, that's for sure. And the CT side, despite the fact that it looks like a very close game initially, the rounds that Winstrike have won have been so dominant and so impactful, especially with Krad's statement play just a few rounds ago with that Tech 9. Still blowing my mind all these rounds later. So the bomb will detonate indeed, and the T economy now off to a very rolling start here. Should be able to see a proper investment.
Yeah, not just a rolling start. Elian, $8,000, meaning the AWP will come out at least in the next 2 rounds, Pronogo. That's dangerous to be up against, considering how many shots he's been hitting.
Right. He was a huge impact player in Winstrike's earlier series against Skade, especially on Vertigo. He found pick after pick on railings, on staring down that A ramp position. It's not something that you normally see activating in the same sense. So if Elian can get off to a similar look early rounds of this series, Overpass could be over very quickly. Right now, it's going to be a bit of a B stack. The nade's not finding purchase just yet, but 4 members for Forza. They're looking to make this read happen. Might even find some aggression, as they only have some upgraded pistols alongside the saved rifles.
Absolutely. If you're looking down into T-Water, you are not long for this world once those nades come raining in. It's something Winstrike like to employ once or twice a half. Forza might be reading into those tendencies and not getting that initial intel into T-Water as a result in any of these scenarios. Even with the pistols, you've got to rely on Zorte to play this one. Up close is certainly where he does some of his best work, and with the sandbags position covered and Krad holding the flank, those pistols get extinguished on both angles, leaving Zorte between a rock and a hard place inside of this smoke where he gets spotted.
No chance for Zorte there. He absolutely was done for. As soon as that Molotov isolates his position, he can't back out, but he can't stay in sandbags either, because that's where all the wall bangs are coming from. So many bullets being chucked his way, utility as well. Not long for this world, as you mentioned, Squid. Doesn't matter if the initial nades don't do it. What matters is how they finish, and Winstrike finishing with 4 so far. Flit, the only member left. We'll look for some exits, but Winstrike unlikely to present in this situation. He should be pretty much getting nothing in this round, and he'll have to hightail it back to spawn with that AK-47.
Often see him carrying it. If Forza can ever pick up an AK, it's always more than likely going to go into his hands, knowing he is one of the star riflers for Forza.
Something that's notable about that previous round, however, is that Zorte was given the trust and had the confidence to take a very aggressive peek down that pipe from short water, in fact. So he gets the opening frag onto Elian. Doesn't matter as much because the AWP is recovered, and obviously Elian himself just a second ago had over $10,000 on the T side. So economy not a factor, but maybe we can start to keep track of those opening duels, and if Zorte can continue to find that impact, if the rest of his team can actually convert, might be able to find some more rounds for Forza on the CT side.
Can't do this time without the AWP, of course. That's one of the things I was really scared of when I saw this new Forza roster. Would he be given the same sort of leverage that C-Power was given? That space, that freedom to take those aggressive peaks throughout the map. Apparently that is the case here on Overpass, at least.
Without the economic freedom to actually pick up the sniper, it's not going to be too impactful for him. And that's something we got to keep track of as well. But it is good to see that Forza put the trust in the young gun. The new boy on the block. Zorte himself challenged here. Instantly headshot, but will be saved so far.
Certainly he does. 1 minute. Winstrike just holding. They can play this one patient, knowing that Forza, if they make the mistakes, which they consistently have done against Elian's AWP, both on long and in party, there's every opportunity that he can find a couple of early headshots. Flashes B. Here comes Forrester. He'll bail in from the short. They are not committed to this one, considering Elian did have the control over towards the A-bomb site, but with him wrapping around as well to challenge Nickelback inside of the monster, I think they want to open up these angles with the AWP. A smoke to heaven. Here they come. Zorte is going to be the first man to face the charge. Doesn't have his prized AWP. That wasn't a headshot. Right through those metal railings, only doing about 30 damage onto Nickelback, allowing the bomb to go down anyway as Crad trades almost both. Kenzie takes damage, allowing Jerry to come in from the short to challenge both. This B site might fall once again as Forza head in for the retake, all angles covered. A smoke placed on the B site, and that's where the final member sits. It's only Nickelback, and he's extinguished instantly.
Yeah, that was a messy post-plant play coming out from Winstrike, where they don't consider all the angles and they just don't have the gunfights. At least they don't go their way, right? The fact that they were posted up on some of these connector angles, some of these monster angles, and just weren't able to hit the shots, that's the weakness of some of the post-plants that we see from Winstrike's T side, is that if they can't overwhelm you with their raw firepower, their skill, their mechanical aim, then it might not be enough, because they don't always play the percentage game with their positioning, we'll say. Especially almost running that one dry, only deploying utility when you're already in the line of sight of the CTs. Not exactly what you want to see coming up from a well-drilled T side. That being said, double incendiary over here. We would expect if a CT expends not one, but 2 incendiary grenades onto that party position to slow down the T's very heavily, you actually want to peek off of the back of that and maybe get some early play, some early info. Not so for Forza. Maybe that's just conditioning, as we've seen from Winstrike's nade sets all the time so far, especially on Overpass, where we saw the triple HE towards that boost on B.
Worrying sign. We didn't see anybody covering the connector right there for Winstrike.
The question is really how aggressive are Forza going to be on the CT side. Maybe that's what Winstrike are betting on, is that second guess themselves already so early into this series. Can't bet on your opponents to make the mistake every single time, however, no matter what level of play you're playing at.
Forza holding this one with 3 AK-47s, meaning they don't necessarily have to take these risks. That's a completely blind shot from Crad. Finding those traces from Almeza through the wooden planks, and he absolutely knows the angles.
Look at the positioning from Winstrike, though. Bomb and 3 members towards long. The rest lurking out through bathrooms. Forrester will find the initial frag, it looks like, and it's good for it. It's an A-take.
They have no idea that Jerry is wrapping him behind. That might not even be a factor, considering he's lost all of the teammates on the A site, and that C4 can go down anyway. He's already been spotted. Crad doing all of the due diligence from behind, just spotting out if there was anybody in the connector or party. This round is firmly over.
Yeah, that's the experience of Crad coming into play there. Winstrike not interested in running and gunning as they did on the B-bomb site, just a round to go. To get their 5th on the board, they play things a little bit more tactically, shall we say. Even dispensing with that extra AWP outside the map. So no recovery from Forza. It will be 5-3 at the end of this bomb. That was really well played as well. The fact that Elian is able to find those frags peering towards banks so consistently, this is one of the reasons why we keep our eyes on him as realistically the star sniper in this matchup even, not just on this team of Winstrike.
Let's remember Winstrike have won 11 out of 11 of their past series, going for 12 here against Forza.
And it's not looked as easy as some of the competition they've played against previously, but I'm not 100% confident in Forza's CT side so far. They need to show us even more. And with no AWP to do it with, Zorte's going to have to make the AUG work. Still a scope, but a bit of a different fire rate, shall we say, as he posts up towards party. We'll back off almost immediately after exchanging some nades.
Crad takes the connector. Nades as well, whittling down a tiny bit of damage off of Lackey. He has to be very cautious. If those HEs are going to come overhead, maybe in combination with Jerry, There's every opportunity he loses a lot of his HP before the engagements even happen. Nickelback, in the meantime, up towards the fountain in conjunction with Elian, who's been sensational with that AWP.
If you're a bit newer to Overpass, this might not look like a lot of control, but make no mistake, Winstrike, with this much control towards Fountain, all of this presence just perpetually towards A, and now taking presence at long, this is massive for the Winstrike T side. They can pretty much leverage this to pincer A in 4 or 5 different ways.
Forze have been punished absolutely every time they've tried to go for any map control beside the fountain, mostly at the hands of Elian's AWP. 40 seconds, here comes the long hit as 3 sit on B. Forze don't have a defense ready for this one. They'll have to rely on the Emperor Vanessa flip playing inside of the toilets. Actually communicating with Zorte, who does have a scope. It's not his favorable AWP. Obviously, Elian being the only real sniper in the server. Flit, Zorte, both combined for kills onto Nickelback and Lackey. That's the A site prevented. Does allow space for Forrester to find another face. But still a 2 versus 3 with Almazer already here with the M4A1S. Very easy stuff. Forrester 1 HP, and that bomb is isolated on the site. So saving an AK, his best bet.
Yeah, and the money's not as good as it once was for Winstrike because a lot of these rounds have drawn very close. So, okay, Forza take their 4th because Winstrike slow things down and almost get stalled out. They waited a little too long there, and Forza just patiently allowed them to walk into their crosshairs, so to speak. Now Zorte will get that all-important sniper rifle in his hands. And for the first time in quite a while, we might not see Elian invest into it. I'll hold my breath on that one because he has, but it comes at the cost of utility. And you can see here, Krad himself, who has been taking connectors so aggressively in a lot of these segments of play, we are not going to be able to see him contest with a rifle. Instead, it'll be just a Tech 9 and very limited utility.
Is that even a compromise, though? We saw what Krad could do with the Tech 9, and sometimes it is sensational.
Yeah, at some point you gotta say, if I can run and gun and double headshot you while moving,
when
maybe
you've got
the
an
Tech 9
AWP.
is perfect. It's just not something you never expect that again. And it looks like Zorte may have shaken that off already, thankfully, but it's a play we're not going to forget too soon on the broadcast.
Certainly not. Forrester just plays this one isolated inside of the monster with none of the support of his teammates, neither that bomb, just fishing for the information and potentially trying to keep Forza with the 2-3 split, albeit that didn't necessarily work in the last one. Krad in the connector, where he often plays.
Yeah, and another tendency you're seeing out of this matchup so far is that Forza are almost always giving up connector control, and in these late rounds, giving up long control as well, falling back. The conditioning just not been there for them. They haven't found the success they wanted off of more aggressive and forward positions, so they play passive, and it worked out the last round. It might not this time, though. Winstrike, they're going to start to grow wise to this and maybe exec a little bit sooner.
Already calling for the wrap from Almazer through the CT spawn. He could play the garbage as Split takes a more aggressive stance along with the AWP inside. Gets dinked by the Tech 9 once again as Krad is doing everything with this particular pistol. Almazer, surprise, surprise, eats 3 alive. It's only Elian remaining and there's nothing to be done with the sniper.
Oh, that's such good positioning from Almazer. The Molotov doesn't go deep enough, so he can bunker down into a very strange off angle that Winstrike don't even check. Once again, Elian, the last remaining member, nice flick, but he's forced to save, and Winstrike have just given up the tie game. Forza certainly came here to play this time around.
Identical round. It's Almazer's rotate really doing the justice on the A-bomb site. You see him just with an M4A1S holding him beside Optimus. They have no idea that he's playing there, and the communication seems a little janky. When you don't see those, well, icons actually pop up on the minimap as to where he's playing from, the M4A1S, that's its inherent advantage.
Yeah, silenced, tighter spray. So good if you don't need the extra bullets in reserve, shall we say. M4 certainly has been the fan favorite for quite a while, but Almazer showing why the silenced alternative can be even better in some situations. Oh, wow. Maybe not so when you're chucking nades at the wall, but that's okay, Almazer. We'll give you a pass for it. It's only against primarily pistols from Winstrike, and the first frag has already been found.
Jerry might not, though. That's significant damage. Down to 68. It doesn't look like Winstrike. They won't obviously be communicated that information. It's absolutely unconfirmed damage. No idea how much it does, even if you throw the nade yourself.
Yeah, speaking of unconfirmed damage, Zorte got tagged there through multiple surfaces, it looked like. Nice boost for Winstrike to facilitate high-level play, good damage, maybe even a pick in a perfect world. from Ellie, and maybe some reads, in fact, because it's one of the first times Zorte has actually played that specific angle. Looking down towards Party from a much more passive side. Now Amazer falls, and Elian, he's coming to life.
Amazer had no idea that peering through the T-Tons would beat his makeup. Quick shot from the AWP, and as a result, they'll push on to B against Kenzie, who finds 3.
So, okay, Forza only drop 1 player. Their economy starting to balloon in a position that they haven't been in since probably the second round Force by victory, right? All the way back to round 2. We go to number 12, Winstrike, looking to tie us up here in this buy, but for the first time in what feels like forever, Elian does not have a sniper, and that could be the difference maker, because remember, he's on 8 frags already. Maybe not the most impressive kill differential, but quite impactful those frags were, especially with crowbarring open some of these sites. Forrester flirting with death here against the AWP. Sorte now positioning towards B in most of his rounds instead. That's another adaptation, and Forrester could get caught off guard here.
He's definitely been changing up his angles to catch Winstrike off guard. They don't have any confirmation as to where that sniper's playing. It might bait them in the wrong way. Perhaps into the crossfire of Almazer and Flit sat inside of the toilets.
That might actually be the adaptation Forza's CT side needs, because A has been a repeated weak spot, where B, not so much. So if Winstrike expect the same sort of line of scrimmage in the bathrooms and towards long, they might just get caught off guard, as we keep saying so many times here. It's Forza's adaptations that change the pace. Winstrike, not a very proactive T-side so far.
Does Flit expect an unconventional angle of Lucky? Apparently not. Very easy shot to find. Lackey there, stuck in the corner. Quick from the AK-47. Might isolate the push onto B. Of course, Winstrike, they don't have this information that it's only 2 sitting inbound, with Zorte rotating and wrapping in from the heaven. Where are the smokes, though? Winstrike haven't thrown them, and that gives Zorte a chance to actually find 2 shots right over the top. He's still going as the first smoke has been placed. Forrester's still got one in hand. I'd have loved to seen that thrown earlier.
Yeah, towards heaven especially, you know Zorte with the AWP is nobody to be trifled with, and Winstrike are just disrespecting their opponents. Kenzie's going to make them pay, and, well, obviously Zorte did earlier as well. That's a 7th for Forza, on track to maybe win the half in a map that they are not favored in whatsoever, Squid.
Makes absolutely no sense. When you've got that utility literally strapped to your belt, you need to throw it against heaven to try and circumnavigate Zorte. They didn't do it in that scenario, and that was to their detriment. 2 kills from him, and the round wrapped up for Forza.
Couldn't even get the bomb down, so the economy not looking too hot for the T side. MAC-10, the most impressive weapon. Everything else just deagles. Only 2 sets of Kevlar, in fact. So this should be yet another mop-up round for the Forza CT side, which we called into question earlier. Seems like there are no questions to be asked now. Flit in connector. First time in a while. This position does get expected, but Lackey, inferior weaponry. Not the tool for the job with that MAC-10.
No, and that's the sole SMG on the server, going down very early on. Zorte wraps up another one upon long.
What can you do with only 3 deagles and a single flash? Maybe get some frags, but at this point, doesn't look likely. So, yeah, Forza will be taking yet another round, extending their lead to 3 over the favorites of Winstrike on Winstrike's own map pick. Only a single member going down for the CT side, and that'll do it.
Yeah, only Kenzie dropping there upon the B-bomb side. That's going to put their economy in quite a stable position for Forza for the last 2 of the half. A match paused. I guess this will be from Winstrike. They will pick this one up to have a bit of a discussion as to what to do with these rifles that they've recently picked up. The AK-47's coming. Elian surely has an AWP as well. That'll be just with the body armor and perhaps a smoke grenade. He's got just about enough. No, it's the 5-rifle setup coming through instead.
Yeah, we haven't seen this from Winstrike by choice in quite a while. So maybe forced into this backs against the wall because of the recent 3-round streak Forza have been on. Got to remember that the loss bonus favoring the T's heavily with the lower equipment prices. Not quite enough to get them a sniper. So they need to play a little bit more dynamic, maybe even faster, because Forza, when you give them time to burrow in, they're actually very good at conserving their utility for the right moments. And especially if Winstrike themselves don't throw any of the utility they have, that will be pretty rough. It looks like it might be fast outside Monster. Molotov there from Kenzie to intercept.
That incense should have been able to actually divert sources, but actually finding both of those initial supportive frags with the support of Forrester in the meantime. They're actually going to drop 2, and then the 3rd on the B site to allow that C4 to go down from Nickelback planting it. Zorte had to get back into this one. They've got enough money, so saving out of the question. Certainly not a real difference maker here. You could give Elian that AWP. That's the only real negligible factor about this retake. Inbound, quick nade. That's not going to do any damage. You have to check the corner anyway. Be very pensive about these angles, and Zorte doesn't even want to go for it. Keeping that AWP becomes the priority. Not for his own money, but doesn't want to give it to Elian, of course.
Almazer and Kenzie are both a little bit low on money, so maybe a save makes sense. It's one of those coin flips where you can kind of argue for it. Question is whether or not he'll even get out of there. He spots Elian jump spotting, but ooh, dangerous game played there. Elian wants a free sniper of his own. Can he get the upgrade? Bit of a standoff right now, and it looks like Elian will get the short end of the stick. Maybe the long end of Zorte's stick as we get into the next. And get another timeout called. Forza not interested in allowing Winstrike to get off to any sort of a running start here.
No, a 9-6 half is so important on Overpass. Puts you in good stead going into your T-pistol, where you don't necessarily have to win it to be, well, looking to win this map. Obviously, that would be preferential. Get off to that 12-6 start, and then it's all a matter of closing out on a couple of gun rounds here and there. This will be another one of them for Winstrike, as they could close out with a more than acceptable scoreline. 8-7 would be good enough.
It would be good enough, but we didn't expect Forza's CT side to put up so many rounds in such a competitive half. So hats off to them so far with this AWP on Zorte and with very well equipped 3 AUGs, in fact. Scoped rifles galore here. The only unscoped one on Almazer with that M4. Very interesting coming out from this CT side. Can they make it work as Kenzie takes aim down Monster?
Almost looked like Winstrike wanted to repeat the pace through the Monster, but with Forrester only connecting one shot through that smoke, it certainly won't advantage them too much in this potential side take.
Yeah, Forza have done their due diligence here, right? Because the last time, the reason you lost the B site was simply because of a rush. This time, not so. Incendiary's down, not answered back by Winstrike yet. We should be able to see proper exec coming in still, though.
There is nobody on the A site for Forza right now, and that's allowed Elian to sneak all of the way up into Bank. He's got a back angle where they will create a pincer against 3 on this B site. Almazer will have no idea as he is sat exposed in the open. And if Elian doesn't go checked, how does he? He's got all of the control right now and the back of Kenzie. Surely they won't check this. It's a fast headshot. The conversion from Elian.
Beautiful.
Sprays them down from the heaven. And this isolates the execute for them to take 7.
Oh, Krad's so close to escaping as well, but doesn't even matter. The scram through the wood, and Forrester makes them all pay. It's an 8-7 half as we get into it.
There is no way to take away Elian in that scenario. When you don't have the map control on long, it allows him to sneak all of the way through. And it's all too easy for him to find 2 frags and absolutely blister away the defense. Despite having a stack on B, remember, they had 3 players over there. That might be fairly conventional on Overpass, but in a round like that, where you've just taken a tactical pause as well, you're certainly not expecting to get flanked. Overpass isn't really a map too known for its flanks, Pronogo.
No, and as we get into halftime here, Squid, one of the things that we should remember is the fact that Forza are so dynamic with their positioning on that CT side. Quite impressive, to be honest. The fact that they were able to outsmart Winstrike in a lot of those rounds. The one time they go for a very heavy mid and B presence, we have to remember that Winstrike took advantage of that, right? That was Elian flanking so heavily and giving those one taps a new look. So coming into the next half, I expect Winstrike will have to really mount a proper CT defense. And they are quite good on the CT side of Overpass, just in general, CT side and pretty much any map they play. So Forza have their work cut out for them. Maybe 8 rounds not enough for them. We're going to see very shortly, I think.
Yeah, let's remember that this is a totally new look team from what we saw yesterday, Winstrike. 16-4 against Saw. Maybe the heaviest firepower, especially when it comes to 5 rifles that they have to offer. Overpass maybe doesn't fit to that kind of script that Forza want to kind of employ into this one. Obviously, they've got Zorte who will be picking up the AWP as much as humanly possible. That wasn't really the case for Saw yesterday, where Stododo didn't really seem massively comfortable on that sniper rifle. But here today, we definitely see these two snipers who really want to pick it up as much as they can.
Yeah, and one of the things that we saw against Saw, in fact, when Winstrike were taking them on Overpass is they got off to a very heavy start. That's not the case this time around. And as we get into the second half with this pistol on the cards, we have to see if Winstrike have what it takes to extend their lead, or even get a lead, as a matter of fact, or if Forza will repeat what Winstrike did to Saw just a day ago.
Well, let's see. Pistol round ensuing. It smokes for both Jerry and Almeza. An execute heavy strat, perhaps signaling that they want to head over towards the B site where they can thermally smoke off the USPSs from heaven.
Beautiful read from Winstrike, though. Look at this. 4 members towards this area.
Oh man,
So
yeah,
early
they read
as well.
this perfectly. The smoke is going to land right behind Crad, and that gives him an avenue to jump back onto the bomb site for Nickelback to take the initial face for the opening kill.
Oh.
Well, mate, that kills is Lackey and Forrester both chime through in the monster. That bomb needs to be retrieved, and Almeza isn't slowing down. Taking the swing onto barrels, somehow we find ourselves in a 2 versus 2. As Forrester wants even more of the faces towards short, Flip finds him. So good with the pistols, the CIS star. And only Crad remains. Yes, he's got a kit, but no body armor in this one.
Yeah, it's the worst player to live. You can at least salvage a kit if the one who had it died, but not so for Crad. He's got to get up here very quickly and take an aggressive angle. Looks like he has read it. He knows it's going to be A.
There's still a smoke grenade as well to place towards the garbage. Almeza 2 flashbangs. This will be practically impossible for Crad, who doesn't have a smoke of his own. Maybe if he could place one down on that bomb and get an injured fuse, there'd be an opportunity to get this one in, but misses the initial shots, and Flick can play in conversion with Almeza, who now sneaks and slips his way into the corner, still with a double flashbang, remember. These can be dropped at any time, doesn't even need the utility as the conversion comes through both sides.
Forza with the pistol win. Didn't matter too much when Winstrike won the pistol in the last half, but that is very impactful. Again, if this T side can get off to a running start, we might see a very early upset in the first map alone. It's crazy that Forza are even in the lead to begin with. We called this definitively that Winstrike should take this map comfortably, and it's been anything but so far as they forced their way in with 2 MP9s alongside their Deagles and a Scout.
Could be double digits Forza here. AK-47s on both Flit and Almeza, everybody else glills.
Again, such a limited A presence. Okay, 2 players rotate over now, but playing so heavily towards B, and that's where Forza want to go, so it was an accurate read, but they've abandoned it now. Maybe playing themselves in the mental game.
Yeah, that's off the back of Lackey getting all of this information into T-Water. He hasn't spotted the crosses into Monster. So as Flit takes the map control onto the B site, this is only just being communicated to the other 4 members of Winstrike. Lackey, he gets very unlucky in that scenario, and the bomb is going to go down with no damage dealt as a result. Here it comes, digits tapped in. Winstrike now a potential retake on the cards where they could set up for exits. If Forrester's Desert Eagle can actually do some damage, then there's an opportunity. Boost into heaven, though. This is very smart from Jerry. Takes attack in the meantime and jumps right back down. Backing out, quick MP9. Looking just fine on this angle, but only does damage. And now the Desert Eagle getting punished as well. Leaves Elian inside the heaven. Without much to be done, is hitting sensational attacks, giving the Nickelback a chance from the monster. And that is a sensational headshot. Jerry doesn't leave them with enough time, and with no kit, he decides to bail.
Yeah, the question is, can Jerry even leave without dying to the bomb here? Looks like he might be able to scarp her off successfully, but man, what a round. In fact, he will fall. Very bizarre way to score your 10th, but Forza are on to double digits. A very competitive round from Winstrike. The utility that they purchased alongside those weapons afforded them so many more looks into the bomb site than you would expect, especially when Lackey makes the incorrect call that there's nobody towards B.
I thought that Winstrike were considering a force spy after wiping out the whole of Forza right there. I think that's what they're discussing during this tactical pause. Of course, Nickelback has that AK-47, so a couple of pistols could push this one over the line.
Yeah, look, he's got Kevlar. He's got the 3 nades as well, so he spent a little bit of money. Same for Forrester, who's invested into a Deagle and a Flash. We're going to see at least some utility. So Winstrike want to look into this round. They don't just want maybe a couple more frags, although they will take that. They want to avoid being killed by Zorte's Mac 10, who's obviously looking to farm up for an AWP on this T side. And the Winstrike CT side also wants to make sure that they manage the economy of their opponents. We see a Galil already purchased by Almeza, so there certainly are some compromises made by this T side as they once again default towards B. 1 in connector and 2 heading towards party. nothing doing just yet from the Winstrike team, as they have not invested into any incendiaries.
This is one of the few opportunities on Overpass where an audacious force buy on the CT side is actually justifiable, considering we see how little money Forze have. Only about $600 between the 5 players. They do have the rifles, so even if you can carry Desert Eagles into this one, there's every opportunity that you lose it close once again and start to snowball that scoreline. It could have been a devastating round for Winstrike. Instead, they'll pick up rifles in the next, as Flit just hunts for this fountain control, not spotting out too much.
Oh, and let's be real. If Winstrike somehow take this round versus Forze, they basically guarantee themselves 2 more off the back of it, just because breaking the economy. At the very least, the next round will probably be an eco. So, yeah, Winstrike could certainly tie us up here, but it has to come from a force buy victory. And it doesn't look so likely with only a Flash and an HE left on this roster, and no Kevlar aside from Nickelback's AK-47.
Nickelback has to go nuclear if they're going to take 8 early. And Forrester could actually provide him this information to switch back to Monster where necessary. He holds short up close, but Forze aren't even prioritizing a single member towards this angle. The nade does good damage, but Forrester instantly eviscerated, and that AK-47 now comes into play for 2 of his own. Just Desert Eagles left. He's done just about enough to shut down Nickelback. And Lackey, yes, he'll try for damage. Doesn't have any body armor to lose out on here. So an exit influential to keep the money low. Especially if he can drop another AK-47. That's not going to happen with Zorte controlling the angles into Graffiti.
It's a measured take on the B site for Forze, right? And that's exactly what we needed to see from them if they wanted to avoid getting brought too low. As it stands, it would be an audacious buy to break out the AWP. It looks like Zorte will, despite not having hardly any utility. He will at least have the saved head armor from his MAC-10 purchase, and farming up only 1 kill. Oh, you hate to see that again, especially against your IGL. Flip must be second-guessing himself now.
Yeah, that's a bit of a head-scratcher. We see it so much. 3 or 4 times in the Premier games that we've casted, at least. And in an aggressive angle. That knocks 2 players low on HP. Remember, Jerry, due to the stab and the earlier engagement in the round, and now this damage becomes less than negligible. Like, obviously, it's not.
Yeah, Lackey being spammed down from that B position as well. He's got the secondary AWP. This is a low utility buy coming out from Winstrike. More damage exchanged and answered back to as well. 3 members for the T side now low. This could be a massive HE.
Elian might be the tag master, but as of yet, he hasn't been the frag master. He needs to play this one up close and personal, and Lackey has the second sniper for another tag through those boxes. Remember, Flit was low earlier. Wouldn't have been the kill if that tag hadn't have landed.
Yes!
But all of them do. It's Lackey to find 3 on the engagement from Optimus. The nade over the top. Lackey's not going to drop. He plays this one in close with the sniper, as Forrester can play in conjunction with him.
What a highlight round from Lackey. Unbelievable instantaneous flicks onto multiple members to keep Forze at bay. And that's how Winstrike get their 8th. And they, of course, will reinvest. They got the double ops recovered in the last round, just in those last seconds. So, yeah, we're going to see some rifles come out. Crad, the only compromise with that MP9, but plenty of utility and almost nothing for Forze, especially in the utility department. Flit, the only one with a proper buy in that respect. It's going to be an AK, 2 Deegs, 2 Galils. So many compromises coming out and concessions made. Could be a 9th for Winstrike.
Certainly could. Those double AWPs are so scary. Knowing that Lackey isn't even the primary sniper, but can perform like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible, isn't it? You never expect Lackey, of all people, especially when Elian's been having a pretty reasonable series in terms of impact frags on the T side. You take him down, even if you do expect a secondary AWP, which Forza probably didn't in that situation, you're not going to expect Lackey to have the difference made. Zorte now getting run boosted out towards long. Nobody to receive him, however. Will instead be information gained towards Monster for the CTs, and now we're going to see an A split. Whether or not Winstrike are here to receive. 3 members now with Nickelback's rotation. Could be big.
Overpass is one of those few maps where a double AWP is certainly justifiable, along with Train, Dust 2. 11 to 8 here. Just playing this one a little slower. Inside of the toilets, where they want Crad to make the initial mistake he does by trying to peek into these Desert Eagles. That certainly wasn't absolutely necessary. Maybe misreading the economy. A tendency we've seen from Winstrike. This time, Elian's right around the corner. Flick almost connects. That one certainly does. Flick needs to punish it. Does with the HE, but Forrester's right there in time.
Yeah, and they can recover that secondary sniper again. So Forza, even though they take 3 members out, still aren't able to manage the economy of their opponents. Crad does get very aggressive early on, but he spots the information and confirms presence from the T side towards A in bathrooms. At that point, it was all on shots. If Forza can land them, then maybe Elian goes down, but we've seen back-to-back round wins off the back of the snipers themselves. Incredible scenes.
Yeah, as soon as that peek comes through, a quick death dealt by the AWP. And back to pistols for Forza once again, as you mentioned. They'll head towards long to try and challenge this very up-close angle from the MP9, though. So it shouldn't be too much of a difference maker here. There's Crad. Wants to pass. Quick kills, 2.
Farmed him up, yeah. That's 2 kills with the MP9 as well, and only giving an SMG, so it's not like Forza get anything for their trouble. Elian should be able to spot out the rest of them. Bomb may or may not have been seen. Radioed in, however, that there's presence towards long, and now Nickelback might fancy himself a bit of an aggressive angle. Or perhaps they'll just play passive and let Forza walk into their impending doom. Either way will suit Winstrike here as they're on for double digits themselves, and then not so far away from getting themselves to a tie game, maybe getting back into the lead. Momentum certainly on their side.
The MP9 creeping closer to Elian, even one shot missed, and that's suicide for the AWP, especially as a headshot comes through from Almaze before he drops. The support from Nickelback is perfectly timed, and it's 10-11. Winstrike back in the game.
Back in the game. Yep, Winstrike are certainly giving us a series just in this first map. And Forza, credit to them on the CT side, but their T side, on the other hand, hasn't just found enough success. It will be 5 rifles again, the only outlier being Zorte taking the Krieg into action. I've seen this a few times on Overpass specifically, where you can get into position and hold these angles where CTs will sometimes aggress down very long corridors. It's Elian in connector now, and Almazer's caught with a nade out. Nothing doing just yet about that, but Lackey's secondary sniper towards short. He's going to find so much impact here if Kenzie overpeaks.
Oh, finally the information is communicated that the double AWP is playing upon both connector and B, but Lackey cannot be stopped. As Flick gets dropped, top fragger for Forza, instantaneously eliminated as both orbs want to fire simultaneously from the short. That's not going to necessarily work out as Nickelback actually retrieves it. We don't often see him with the AWP, but watching onto short in conjunction with Elian, who is playing inbound. Obviously, he wants to hold a slightly different angle, not from the heaven, as that can be instantly smoked off by either Almaze or Zorte, who are holding the utility here. They go one of the 2 smokes up for grabs. Jerry actually picked one off the ground, so they've got a pretty full execute with these tertiary members.
Yeah, we need to see something quick from Forza. It's not a spam kill through the smoke as Almazer's trying, especially with Jerry so low on HP. What can they realistically do? They smoke off heaven, but so many of the CT members are just on the site waiting for Forza to walk in. It's a repeat of the previous round.
Elian had already read the fact that there were still smokes to be played, so thus far not playing inside of heaven either, allowing Nickelback an option into the monster where there are only the 1 smoke to remain. That's on the back of Zorte. A quick nade. That's over the top. But nobody necessarily local with the strike. And it does absolutely 0 damage. Bomb dropped inside the monster. How do these final 2 respond? Potentially with a save, considering it's AA K47. They've not got much money to buy into the next. So keeping these rifles alive, absolutely imperative. Nickelback finds one in the meantime. That's another AWP kill for him. Winstrike seem to be specialists with the snipers.
Every member fragging out with that AWP, Squid. Winstrike have tied us up, and it doesn't even look close anymore. Forget the scoreboard, because the last rounds have gone to Winstrike on their CT side in just dominating ways. The fact that even though they do drop so many players in some of these gun rounds, doesn't matter if they can keep those snipers in the hands of the players that matter. Right now, it's Elian and Lackey, even though Nickelback gets a couple frags with it himself in the previous. It's just down to pistols. Forza need to force buy their way to another lead. They want to remain competitive on Overpass.
$7,300 in the coffers for Elian as well. That AWP will be coming out. I can confirm the fact that they'll certainly have maybe even a double AWP setup again going into round number 9 of this half.
Yeah, no matter which way this round goes. And Elian over the smoke, over the top. Kenzie's blown out of the server and Zorde's tagged with him.
We see him do that on Vertigo as well, by the way, where he steps right over the smoke grenades. He will use those, even if he places them to his advantage. The 3rd missed nade that we've seen this map, by the way.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll give Crad a pass because some of his information plays and some of his His anchors as well have just been so good. Elian, on the other hand, caught with a nade out in bathrooms, needs to get himself out of here because there's so many pistols staring him down.
There is no exit option for Elian. He needs to rely on the M4 playing in conjunction. Nickelback just behind, finally taken away by the Tech 9. We've seen so much impact from that particular pistol this map. It still gets shut down.
It's 2 frags for Elian, and even though he's been falling in so many of these rounds, he is top of the scoreboard for Winstrike. Oddly enough, Flit has been 22 for 16 so far in terms of kills to deaths. And that's obviously on the Forza side. He's fragging out of control, but it's just not enough right now.
He's been up towards 22 frags for quite some time, Pronogo. The last 5 or 6 rounds, Flit hasn't been able to score. A perfect first half from Flit, who was in the cockpit, but nothing really in half 2 of Overpass.
Yeah, I think his mech suit might be in for some repairs here, Squid.
Oh man, that's another
There's
smoke.
more nades missed.
It's number 4. I can continue to count them.
Yeah, you have to be counting the frags here pretty soon, though, because it's already up to 2, and just not look competitive in these rifle rounds. Certainly not in the Force buys either.
Massively impressed by the way Winstrike have been able to recover some of these maps. Against Skade in the previous series, remember, where they got taken to overtime. Big comeback on the cards, and as soon as they had money in their hands, it was an absolute decimation on the CT side of Vertigo, remember? This time, pretty similar storyline here on Overpass. But he tries to open it up. His first kill in the last 5 rounds, as I mentioned earlier.
Absolutely the case, right? He's back on the board. At this point, Winstrike need to slow things down here. Forza, only 3 members alive, and between 2 of their members, they've got HP for 1 player. Not looking too hot for them, but they've got utility. Actually, more than Winstrike do. And of course, the CTs have to be split up so that they can verify no T presence towards B. Oh, Forrester might overpeak here.
A final smoke bled out of Elian at the B-bomb site. Lackey at the B-bomb site, would you rather. That forces Forrester, of course, into a more aggressive peak to get the information, considering they don't have the smokes to slow them down. Elian's AWP, it's in fact the double sniper setup to try and shut them away. Almeza can't do enough with 10 seconds on the board. The bomb is isolated behind him, and now it's frags and frags only that matter, as Elian sits and slides within the smokes. Lackey knows he just needs to survive to win this round. 13.
Unbelievable from Elian. Oh, and they deny the op for the T side. The one time only a single sniper survives for Winstrike. And guess what? They've got the money now because Forza haven't had the success. Winstrike have all the rounds. Forza themselves, look at their money. Look at their economy. They were relying on recovering at least 1 weapon, especially a sniper. It's just not to be. Lackey so good, and Elian obviously a hero to get to 22 frags himself.
An amazing risk there to try and deny the AWP, also denying the loss bonus. Remember, bomb doesn't go down on the T side and you survive, you don't get any money going into the next. As a result, Almeza $1,100.
Tying after time is so impactful in CSGO, especially with this economy system in the works. Now it looks like it will be a force with keeping about the same money that Almeza carried into this round on the rest of the players, hovering around that $1,500 mark. Kenzie with a MAC-10. Just some upgraded pistols for everybody else. And of course, Almeza looking, making the walk of shame. No money, no weapons at all. Oh, okay, he'll actually invest into a deagle, so I'll eat my words there. But slower start, lack of map control, lack of nades to do it. This should be 14 Winstrike, and at that point, you favor them to take the whole map.
These pistols, though, have been so powerful on Overpass. We see Kenzie take an aggressive isolated swing through Monster to try and challenge the smoke grenades as Almeza finds Crad inside of the connector. This is doable from Forrester. If he can convert back to Monster for a second, he does. Lackey up close, also gets traded, leaving it all down to Elian. This is falling apart from Winstrike. Elian now. Other side of the map, the bomb, yes, it's isolated. That needs to be retrieved, and they can plant it on either bomb site, preferentially B, considering that's where Flit is holding. Here comes the flank, though. They are trying to get all of the intel onto Elian. And with this information communicated down from Almeza inside of the Heaven, they should be hyper-aware that the flank is coming through. They should be able to, via a process of elimination, find out exactly where he is. Either short Monster, because it's certainly not from A. No footsteps retrieved, and Elian, barrel spotted. Flit now has all of the intel with an AWP of his own. We talked about Flit being in the cockpit, going quiet on the T side, but 24 frags. Elian needs to strike back. Flash overhead. Flit playing right behind the boxes. Outside, gets spotted. Elian, a no-scope, only doesn't connect by a whisker. Switches to the 5-7 to finish.
How do you get 14 in a 1-on-2? Elian denies every round for Forza. Oh, Squid, that was the clutch that Winstrike needed just to have one last bit of disrespect towards their opponents. This has been Winstrike's home turf, make no mistake.
Unbelievable, and they have been making plenty, by the way. 14-11. In that scenario, Elian almost has no chance. The barrel spotted and the communication comes through from Flit, and he still finds the kill. That's unbelievable.
Impressive stuff coming out from Elian, and saying impressive is in fact underselling it. The star player of this server right now. Oh, Forza need a big change of pace. 3 members towards B. Flit needs to find impact.
Does. Right onto short, traded by Lackey. These double snipers seem to be the absolute talking point for Winstrike on Overpass.
This isn't even something we've seen from them on Overpass too many times. Remember, Squid, this is a bit of a new adaptation. Maybe something they've been practicing. It looks so well oiled right now. Opt towards short to hold that area down while rifles stare down monster through smokes. What can you do on B? And if you go A, Elian's going to make mincemeat out of you.
Let's remember that they played against Saw yesterday. That was a 16-4. We barely got to see the CT side. So this adaptation, certainly it's come through. They weren't challenged against Saw yesterday at all.
Forza have given them much more of a challenge, a significantly more competitive side from them, especially on the CT side in the first half. But Winstrike have made it look easy the last couple rounds. Again, every round, the Winstrike side wins. It looks easy. Elian making it look even easier.
He was right in the back of the connector. Such an audacious play with the AWP as Forrester finishes everybody inside the monster. How does Elian have the balls to go for that play? Considering you've got a sniper rifle, I think that does speak to his confidence.
If you're that confident that you can go all the way down party, down everywhere, playground, T-spawn. Yeah.
Right to the
How do
back
you
of
even
connector
do any
through
of
the
that?
ladder. That's unbelievable. To actually have the balls to go up the ladder in that scenario as well, knowing that you've more than
even
likely got a
scarier.
flank and Forza aren't holding it. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, it feels like Forza, especially maybe out of timeouts at this point, head's not in the game. 1 round away from taking their map pick, our Winstrike, and with this double op setup, you count them in every single day of the week. Only against 5 rifles, 2 of which are compromises in the Galils, and 1 of which has already been banged out of the server. Elian is doing it all.
Surely he finishes this one off single-handedly. Through the smokes, eventually trained it. When last consolation prize, perhaps, for Forza, as they need to salvage this bomb on long with a trio of players. Flick getting the information inside of the toilets, right outside of the flowers. Beside the A site. Now Mesa in the meantime outside of long. Doesn't spot out Crad, so throws the flash to buy both him and Zorte some space to try and get a little more aggressive here. Molotov could actually be impactful. Crad beats right into the waiting AK-47. Now Mesa takes the prize. A site certainly on the cards here. Nickelback right around the corner though. Doesn't get spotted and actually allows Flick to slide right on past. So they won't be checking this before planting that bomb. Mesa tries. And now a 1 versus 1 against Lackey. Playing by the garbage. Quick nade over. Wants to get aggressive off the back of this. It's been the snipers from start to finish to win out for Winstrike. See if he can finish it off in absolute style. Getting close against Mesa, and it's the pistol sliding him out of the server.
That's it. 16-11. Forza get nothing done in the later stages of their T half. Even though it kind of looked okay in that last one, they managed to get on to A, as a matter of fact. And when they entry on, it looks all right. But those sniper clutches were pristine. I have never seen such a dominant set of retakes and clutches coming out of 2 snipers, remember, not just any old rifle, which you would prefer in that scenario. So, honestly, Elian and Lackey, super impressive on the CT side. Can't believe that they were able to get away with some of the stuff that they did in that particular map, Squid. What do you make of it?
I don't even know. Elian, we've talked about him so much over the last couple of weeks. He's been a sensational AWPer. It's just a shame we didn't see him really flex his muscles in that series against Saw yesterday. It was more of a team effort. This is where we see a star power come to pass. Overpass is where he does his best work, and that's exactly why. You see so many clutches, even getting out the pistol for that 1 versus 2 on Flit on the B site. Fantastic stuff from Elian.
And Forza were in a bit of a purgatory, remember. The fact that they get enough rounds for it to be competitive and then get deflated in the last couple, it does hurt your motivation a little bit and your morale might be dashed. But they've got to clear their heads and remember that they're going on to their comfort pick of Mirage coming up next, where they should be even more competitive and be able to take a map versus Winstrike, in theory at least. With all the members firing on all cylinders, especially those highly impactful snipers, the CT side of Winstrike, especially on Mirage, where you can get out those secondary AWPs, might look exactly the same as what we just saw. So I am a little worried for Forza. But that being said, it is their home turf. Overpass was Winstrike's. Very competitive series so far. We could go to a third map here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we officially have a fire burner of a series that'll continue right after a very short break where they go onto map number 2.